Hi everyone, this is Matt from tracyandmatt.co.uk, and here I am looking at the Samsung Galaxy Mega, one of the largest smartphones on the market available at the moment, and again using the Galaxy brand from Samsung. So we're going to take a quick look. So here's the device itself. As you can see, it's pretty massive, similar sort of size to the Note 2, but we'll come back to that in just 1 second and take a look at what else we have in the box. So we have the quick start guide and the warranty card. Then have the charger, which is a UK 3-pin with a USB socket on the top and a second part that goes with that in order to make it small enough to fit in the box, basically. So those two bits go together. Have a wired headset with volume control, push button for answer and hang up the calls, and to mute or pause the audio playback. There's a 4-pole 3.5mm jack, and then we have in-ear style headphones, which are ear canal type headphones. We then have a couple of different earbuds for those, different sizes. Have a USB to micro USB sync charge cable, and last of all, on the bottom, wedged in, there we go, there's that away, is a battery, which as you can see is almost about the same size as other smartphones we've seen on the market. The battery itself is huge, I guess to support that huge screen. So it's there we go, 3,200 milliamp hours. So it's about twice the capacity of many of the other leading smartphones that have much smaller batteries. Here we have, touch to the back there, you can see, is a USB, no it's not, it's a micro SDHC memory card, 4 gig, and an SD converter there, so you can use it in a PC with a card reader. So let's peel off the cover there so that we can see the screen properly, and as you can see I'm going to have to hold it quite away from the camera in order to get it all in. It is a 720p display, so 720 by 1280 pixels, 6.3 inches diagonal, and as I say, the largest of the smartphones that certainly that we've seen, and among the largest out there. There's a forward-facing 1.9 megapixel camera, and we have ambient light and proximity sensors and a loudspeaker at the top. Capacitive touchscreen, as you would expect, supporting multi-touch, and it is a Super LCD display rather than AMOLED or anything like that. I don't know that there are AMOLED screens of this size at the moment, possibly there are. Push button, which is physical on the bottom, is your kind of your home button. On the left hand side we have an up and down volume control, and around the other side, or on the bottom, we have the USB, micro USB connector, and the tiny hole there which is the microphone itself. On the right hand side we have the power button, not on the top as is typical on a lot of smartphones. I guess because of the size it would make it a little bit more awkward to kind of reach it with your thumb or your fingers, so it is on the side, so it's just under your thumb, as you can see there. On the top, well, we've got an infrared transmitter there, another hole which is for the additional microphone for noise cancelling and that kind of stuff, and then the 3.5mm headphone connector, which you can use for a wired headset, or indeed you can plug in your own headphones for it. On the back we have an 8 megapixel autofocus camera with LED flash, which I guess we'll kind of take a look at in a moment as well. Back cover, like many other Samsung phones, completely plastic, and when it's not connected it's really floppy and flimsy. Underneath we have space for a micro SD and SIM card. They sort of are in this sort of dual staggered arrangement, so micro SD card on top and micro SIM underneath in one place, and then the large cavity which accepts the huge battery. And even with that huge battery you can see that the back isn't completely taken up by the battery. Back cover then pops on all the way around, and obviously we're looking at the white one here, and it's also available in a black colour as well. Popping all of those little clips on the back. I'm guessing if you're somebody that wants to get in and out of that micro SD card frequently, that back cover, maybe it won't last. It seems a little bit flimsy, but anyway, nevertheless, let's just power up. There we go, and a small vibrate from inside tells us it's powering on. So let me run down the rest of the specification. It is 4G, so it will support LTE bands, depending on basically the region you buy it, but it is a 4G smartphone, 3G obviously and 2G as well. Multi-band, so it should work roaming pretty much wherever you take it throughout the world, so that's pretty cool. Micro SIM, as we've already mentioned. Size, well, size is pretty huge. It's 167.6, nearly 168 millimeters from top to bottom. It is 88 millimeters wide, but surprisingly only 8 millimeters thick. But then I guess we've got a lot more area in which to space out the components to make it thin, so it is only 8 millimeters thick. It does seem quite thin. That's quite cool. It is weighty though. It's almost 200 grams at 199 grams. I guess because it's kind of spread out in terms of when it's in the palm of your hand. It's with a large device, the weight is quite well spread. It doesn't feel enormously heavy, but certainly 200 grams is 199 grams to be accurate is actually quite a heavy phone. The micro SD card slot in the back will support up to 64 gig SIM cards, and we've got an internal memory or storage. I believe this is an 8 gig model, but there are 8 and 16 gigabyte models available. There's 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, which is perhaps a little surprising. Many of the other sort of high-end devices at the moment are shipping with 2 gig of RAM, but nevertheless this has 1.5. Android operating system is 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. We have a Qualcomm dual-core 1.7 gigahertz Crate processor, which we will benchmark in a moment as well. We've got an Adreno 305 GPU, GPS, supporting geotagging with the camera on the back, and 1080p video recording at 30 frames a second with, again, the 8 megapixel camera on the back. GPS is also assisted GPS and GLONASS. We've got built-in Wi-Fi supporting 2.11b, G, N and AC standards, dual band and Wi-Fi direct, DLNA and Wi-Fi hotspot modes. That was a mouthful. And finally we have, I'm just trying to find the specification I have sitting next to me for the Bluetooth. Certainly it must have Bluetooth, but it isn't mentioned in the specification that has been given to me courtesy of Samsung. So I'm not so sure what the Bluetooth standard is. I'm guessing it's going to be Bluetooth 4, which again is pretty much standard these days. So we'll say we're going to guess that it's Bluetooth 4. And we also have NFC. And the infrared transmitter on top, that's also so you can change TV channels. Right, so there we go. That's kind of a rundown of the spec. Let's have a look at the device itself. As I said, I'm going to have to hold the thing quite away from the screen, from the camera, because it is so huge. Normally would be at sort of about this position. We're having to go a bit further away. So let's set ourselves up on a Wi-Fi network. Huge QWERTY keyboard, and available in landscape as well. Again, it's quite massive really, the QWERTY keyboard. Which is not a bad thing by any means. It's going to be kind of difficult to tap with, I guess, one hand, but let's see how we go. One of the nice things here is that we do have the 5 rows of keys, so we don't have to go, using symbols and shift to get to the numbers. So let's go and see if we can go ahead and connect. There we go. So we're connected to the Wi-Fi network. We're going to set up all the defaults, and there we go. Let's skip the Samsung account and we'll skip the Google stuff for just a moment. There we go. We'll skip Dropbox and we'll skip all of this stuff as quickly as possible to get through the defaults. And there we go. So we are to the default home screen, which it's trying to find my location to tell me presumably the weather. We've got the Google search with voice search, email, camera, gallery, Samsung apps, Play Store, phone contacts, messaging, internet and apps. I'm guessing that the phone dial is going to be huge, which indeed it is. So maybe this wouldn't be such a terrible phone for anybody that's got problems with eyesight from that point of view. Here we go, and come back out here. And then we'll have a look at what else we've got installed. So we've got Chat On is there as well already. Lots of Google stuff as you would expect. Play Music, TripAdvisor, and some of the Samsung applications are there. So it's just the 2 pages of pre-installed applications, including a translator, which is kind of cool, and S-Memo, which is a useful application. We'll go and take a look at the internet, because I think this is going to be a good device for browsing. So let's see. It is kind of hard to type with one hand. Even with my large hands, reaching across the screen ain't the easiest thing to do. I guess you kind of get used to it. You'll find a way that works for you. So let's go and just see our page. Loading extremely quickly. Obviously we're using broadband and Wi-Fi rather than 3G or 4G with a SIM card, but it loads very quickly, renders very quickly. Page looks good, and even at I'm at full arm's length at the moment in order to get around the camera, and I'm easily able to read that text at a full arm's length thanks to its size and resolution. Works quite well, and we can double tap to zoom in, double tap to go back out, and indeed obviously we can go to landscape mode, in which case the text is even bigger. So that works quite nicely. It's nice and smooth in its scrolling, and yeah, as I say, it's going to be a good web browsing device, no doubt whatsoever. So back out of here, it has found our location roughly, and it's telling me the weather. We'll have different panels, so we can story album and media. We have a calendar, telling me that there's a briefing, so it's telling me what I'm doing tomorrow. Obviously not currently set up. Travel, flipboard, and gallery, and back to the center home screen. Take a quick look at the camera, and let's pop something. We've got something that's a bit colourful. We can pop in front of the camera there, so we can line ourselves up, so we can get an idea of how colour's working. Hopefully you can pick that up on the video reasonably well, but obviously when we come to do a review and a bit of a rundown, we'll include some of the photos. But in terms of the reproduction of the colour on screen with my naked eye, it looks pretty good actually. You can probably zoom. There we go, 4 times zoom. And on arm's length it's kind of hard for me to hold still. I'm stooping over the camera, but take a quick shot and get that in focus. Move it out of the way. As you can see there, at 4 times zoom. Well, that's probably more of a factor of me not being able to hold still, but the colours are really good. Quite impressed with that. There we go. Anyway, so you've got the camera interface and controls, which are pretty straightforward and pretty standard. You've got all the settings at the top here for flash and with voice, that sort of stuff. Setting the photo size. You can go into the preview and look at some of these things you've got on there. Switch the cameras, so you can look at the forward and reverse cameras, video modes, and various other bits in there. So back out of there, one thing I do want to pop into is the Play Store, and we'll sign into an existing account. Bear with me a moment. Okay, we'll just sign in. That keyboard is nice when you can use 2 hands. Basically tap away on it with 2 thumbs, and let's let that go in. There we go, and we're going to search for some apps, and Quadrant, which is, there are several other applications that you can use for doing benchmarking, by the way, but we've been using Quadrant, and we're kind of going to stick with it because it gives us a good baseline really for various tests. And while that's just installing, by way of doing a comparison of size, 6.3 inch screen here, there's the iPhone side by side, and as you can see, iPhone is absolutely dwarfed by the iPhone 5. It is dwarfed by the Mega, and the HTC One, which is a reasonably sized phone. I personally wouldn't want a phone much bigger than the HTC One, frankly, but I know some people will like a larger screen device, and again, pretty much dwarfing the HTC One by way of comparison. So there we go. Let's just open that and run our quick benchmark. And as I say, this is just an indicator. It's not the be-all and end-all of evaluating this device by any means, but just gives us an idea of what's going on, how quick the memory and the CPU are, and it's just by way of interest as well. This shouldn't take too long to run through. Already nearly there. There we go. So almost 60 frames a second there, over 60, mostly there, doing quite well. Averaging around 60 frames a second. There, just a tad over 60. Last one, 35 frames a second. There we have it. So let's see the results. Our device here, 6,360, comparing to the HTC One X and a few others down the screen there. So it performs quite well, actually. In fact, it is a dual core CPU with 1.5 gig of internal RAM. By comparison, the Galaxy S4 and HTC One benchmark at around about the same sort of mark at 12,000. So if you just look at the benchmark, they benchmark at approximately twice the speed as the Galaxy Mega. Just as I say, by way of rough comparison, don't believe that that's the only way to evaluate these devices by any means. I think that's all we're going to really have time to have a look at for the moment. We'll do a rundown of the device, whether or not we have an opportunity to do a full review, not sure, because we haven't got too much time with this Samsung Galaxy Mega, but we'll have a little bit of a summary of our thoughts and findings once we have an opportunity to do so. In the meantime, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's twitter.com/TracyandMatt or facebook.com/TracyandMatt.co.uk. Please do follow us and drop us any messages you would like. If you want to ask me any questions about this device, or indeed anything else that we might be reviewing or videoing at the moment, please do so. We'll do our best to answer your questions. But I'll be back soon with some more videos and reviews on TracyandMatt.co.uk. But for now, thanks for watching.